Welcome to I Am One, where I am one with the Creator and one with myself. Today is December the 7th, 2022, and tonight will be the last full moon of this calendar year. I haven't really done any special things when it comes to the full moon and the new moon and all that. At one point I was doing I was looking at my sun sign for each month and either fasting or abstaining from specific kinds of food. And I really haven't done that in the last I want to say at least maybe 4 or 5 months. But I felt like with this being the last full moon of this year of 2022, I was listening to different astrologers. And I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend like I know the stars and the meaning of everything and the transits and all that stuff. I don't. I'm starting to get into that and to learn about it. But out of everything that I've heard the different people say, some I've subscribed to and some I've just listened to as they, show up in my feed just to see if what they're saying resonates with my being. And a constant thing that's pretty common, so it's not going to be anything deep, but a constant thing that kept coming to me was this time, hold on, let me just find my page here because I kind of just took a couple notes, nothing major. Okay, so it's the full moon and it's in the sign of Gemini. And so the Gemini sign is known as a mutable sign. Again, I'm no astrologer. This is just a couple of notes that I took from what I'm starting to understand and learn. And the mutable signs are signs that show flexibility and resilience. It's also an air sign that it's basic factor of communication. And as I was just listening to the different people share their thoughts and forecast what this what this full moon is going to mean within this sign as the last full moon of this calendar year of 2022, three things came to me: reflect, let go, and then receive. And that's kind of what the full moon season or phase is about. I believe it's about even the new moon, that you're reflecting that that cycle has come to an end, a new cycle is about to begin, and whatever you need to let go from that cycle, you're going to let it go, and then you're going to get ready to receive or get refilled. But for the full moon, because the moon is already full, it's about releasing and being ready and getting ready to get some more. So you're getting ready to get rid of and spill out and just release good, bad, indifferent. You're just gonna reflect on where you are at this point. Go ahead and let that go, because I think we get into this habit of, we get to the mountaintop and we're excited that we're in the mountaintop as if this is the only mountain that we have to climb. And there's another mountain. You've just conquered this one. And so it's time to reflect. How did you get up this mountain? What did you have to get? Oh my goodness. What did you have to go through to get to the top of this mountain? Reflect on that, because now that you're on the top of the mountain, in order to get to the next one, you're going to have to descend this mountain and start a process all over again. It may be similar to the one you had to go through to get to this particular mountain. It may be totally different, based on whatever that mountain is and what the goal is in getting to the summit of that mountain. And so that's what I'm feeling like we need to do. And in the process of reflecting and letting go so that you can receive, I felt myself this week, I'm going to be transparent with you. I felt myself this week as if, and not just this week, it was like last week and into this week. And it was like I got revelation. I want to say it was Sunday afternoon. I was in the house by myself for a little while, and I just began again to reflect and to think back on a couple of things that had transpired. And I realized that I was in a form of mourning. No one passed away. No one has suddenly passed away in my family or my immediate friends or coworkers or anything like that. It wasn't that someone passed away, but there was like a this time is also talking about, excuse me, relationships and dealing with that. And I felt like I was in a stage of mourning. And maybe some of you are feeling like, you're kind of down. You don't have, maybe you do have a reason for it, but as you're trying to press through and you're trying to process and to understand, how did this take place? Where did this come from? Why didn't I see the signs, or whatever the case may be? But it's happened, and you're trying to press through and move on and get to the next stage, because life is still going to go on and you don't want to miss it just because things have happened. But we still have to process. And I sat there and I realized I was going through mourning. I was just mourning what had recently transpired, and coming to the understanding that I've got to look at things a different way now. I got to process a different way now. I have to, I have to be ready and be prepared to respond, to gird myself, to move forward according to what is being presented in front of me. And a lot of times that's hard for us because we've had these things in our lives for so long, almost taking them for granted, never thinking that I might have to make an adjustment with this because it's always been there. It's always been steady. It's always been steadfast as far as we know. And then something comes to change the picture of it and make us realize it really wasn't all along. I was just okay with it being where it was and not being it's optimal and not being as good or as great as it should be or could be. And so when we see that we settle or we're comfortable or we're okay with it not going any better, not getting any higher, not going any further, and we're okay with that until we get hit in the face, punched in the nose, punched in the gut, stepped on our big toe. And then we have to face the realization that, oh my gosh, it was there all along. I chose not to see it. I chose not to address it. I chose not to rock the boat because it wasn't all that bad. It really wasn't all that major. And it was something that, okay, I can live with it until it really hit you in the face and you have to draw a line in the sand. And so for this for this full moon tonight, not trying to make this long and deep, but for the full moon tonight, I would encourage you, whatever time that is going to happen in your time zone, that you do a couple of things as you reflect and as you go through the process of letting go, and as you prepare yourself to receive, just do a couple of things. Sit and meditate. Find out where the full moon is, in the vicinity of your house or where you are, and just kind of sit in the presence of the full moon tonight. And you can write something down on a piece of paper, something you're going to give up, something that you're looking forward to, something that you're going to work harder on. Write that thing down on a piece of paper and meditate on that thing. And if you feel the need to burn the paper as a symbol of I'm letting this go so I can move on, so that it's behind me. And let me just say this, just because you're letting go and you're moving on and you're going to put things behind you, doesn't mean, the one thing I kept hearing was deal with forgiveness. Deal with forgiveness. And I agree that we should deal with forgiveness, not so much for the person that hurt you or that disappointed you or upset you or whatever the case may be, but forgiving so that you can move on. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for not paying attention to the signs. Forgive yourself. Hold yourself accountable. And you also need to hold that person accountable, whether or not you get the opportunity to have that conversation, still hold that person accountable and understand that forgiving does not take away the accountability. It does not take away. It's just like they say, forgive and forget. Okay, you can forgive and forget, but that person still needs to be held accountable. There is a justice system, right? And if someone is found out, they are held. They're held up in court, and they have to go through that process. And so the same thing we have to do. It's not about putting anybody in jail. It's not about putting anybody in timeout, but it is about taking control and command of your life. If you have the Creator within you, and you know that you do, and that spark of life is in you, then there has to be that balance. There has to be that I don't want to say retribution, but there has to be that balance where those things are addressed and they are dealt with and you move on. And whether or not the relationship is saved or it is severed forever, that process still needs to take place. And it's not about trying to be mean to anybody or trying to say, I disown you, I don't love you. It has nothing to do with not loving. It has everything to do with love. I love you enough to let you know this was not okay. I love you enough to let you know I draw a line in the sand on this. I love you enough to let you know that if this relationship is going to continue, there's give and take, there are boundaries, and this is what we each need to respect. Love is having that conversation. Love is, even though it's tough, even though it's uncomfortable, even though you're afraid it's going to rock the boat, the only way that the boat gets righted is when you get those things out of the way. So with this last full moon of 2022, I get excited. I'm sorry that I went up there. But as we get to experience this last full moon of 2022, reflect, let go, and prepare yourself to receive. Sit in an area where you can see the full moon. And it's overcast for us today, so I don't know that we'll even get to see it. But because of technology, we know that today is the day for the full moon to take place tonight. So, Google what time it's supposed to be at its peak in your area. And at that time, few minutes before, just have a time of meditation, reflect, speak words of affirmation over yourself, speak words of affirmation over that situation, over what you're going to release, over what you're going to speak forth that you're going to receive. Have that time where you're just quiet. You are just getting in the presence of the energy, getting connected back to the source, back to the all, the divine, back to God, whatever term you want to use. Get back in connection, in alignment, and allow this time to move you forward. That is all. I hope that this helps. I hope that this blesses. I hope that this encourages. And with that, I'm going to let you go. Have a fantastic day, and peace and blessings to you all.